This is really creepy. I mean, a human ear growing on its back.
In just a century, science and technology have completely reshaped how we live, interact, and do pretty much everything. But we didn't get here without some scientists doing some very disturbing things they don't want you to know about. So let's dive into some of the secrets scientists would rather keep hidden from you. Number 1. Marshall Island Dome. From 1946 to 1957, the United States was spending some money and time making the Marshall Islands go boom by testing nuclear weapons. They set off over 65 nuclear explosions, some so powerful they vaporized entire islands. After the tests, they just left the place. Fast forward to the 1970s, and the government finally realized they had created a massive radioactive mess. To deal with it, they dug a 30-foot deep cavern, crammed it with all the nuclear waste, and slapped a concrete dome on top. But guess what? Over the years, the dome has started cracking, and radioactive waste is leaking into the ocean. And the folks responsible? They are ignoring it, as though it's not a huge deal. Many Marshallese endured health problems caused by radiation exposure and are still battling the United States for aid and compensation. Thinking they would care about marine life when they don't even care about the people is a bit of a stretch, right? The islands had a devastating impact, and now that contaminated waste is seeping into the water, but nobody seems to be paying attention. Number 2. Two-headed dog. In the 1920s, Russian scientists used an apparatus called autojectors for artificial blood circulation to keep a dog's severed head alive for a few months. The dog could react to different stimuli and even lick a slice of cheese. If you think that's disturbing, wait until you hear about another Russian scientist a few decades later who took things to the next level. Vladimir Demikov, who had been transplanting different organs between dogs, decided to attempt a head transplant. He took an adult dog and attached the head and front limbs of a puppy to its back. Reportedly, he made more than 40 of these double-headed dogs, but none survived for long. This experiment had no real-life application, but Demikov had a bizarre obsession with making it work. Even the Soviet Union, known for its own cruel practices, told Demikov to stop because it was just too cruel. Number 3. MK Ultra. Back in the Cold War days, the Soviet Union and USA both were up to some shady stuff. A prime example, MK Ultra. This was a secret experiment conducted by the CIA, aiming to develop methods for mind control, effective interrogation using drugs, manipulative psychology, and more. The messed up part is that the volunteers had no idea what was happening. A major routine was slipping LSD to unknowing participants, who included prisoners, regular citizens, and even a few military personnel. When the operation was exposed in the 1970s, there was huge public outrage. But before full investigations could happen, most of the documents were destroyed or hidden. Some declassified documents of MK Ultra exist, but if this is what the government is willing to show, imagine the twisted experiments that might never come to light. Survivors of MK Ultra suffered long-term trauma and are still seeking justice, but there has never been a formal apology, let alone any compensation. Number 4. Tom Ogle. At just 19, Tom Ogle made headlines for inventing a modified carburetor that vaporized fuel, giving extraordinary mileage with minimal fuel consumption. He reportedly made a 200-mile trip on just 2 gallons of gas. But when he tried to patent his technology, he was told someone else had already patented the same thing. Ogle also claimed that a big oil company offered to buy his invention for a hefty sum on the condition that he never makes another one. Soon, he found himself in all sorts of legal trouble, just for advertising a system that could significantly reduce oil usage. And mysteriously, he passed away at the age of 28. While some say his claims were baseless, others are convinced that big oil companies are like mafias and saw Ogle as a real threat to their booming business, so they shut him down. Number 5. Majestic 12. A few documents that appeared to be leaked secret government files began to circulate in the 1980s. These records showed that the US president at the time established a secret committee consisting of 12 members in 1947, following the Roswell incident, which conspiracy theorists believe to be the crash of an alien spacecraft. This group included scientists, military leaders, and government officials to investigate UFOs and aliens. The FBI launched an investigation and declared these documents bogus. But we all know how things work in government secret operations. Could this be another attempt to hide the truth from the public? Who would take the time to create fake documents with presidential signatures? If someone went through all that trouble, why weren't they tracked down? Number 6. Operation Paperclip. After World War II, what happened to the brilliant minds behind Nazi technology? You might think they were all charged as war criminals, but not really. The US government actually helped hide the pasts of many high-ranking Nazis so they could work for America. This was all part of Operation Paperclip, which was shady from the start. The government never told the public what they were up to. During the Cold War, the things between the US and Soviet Union were pretty intense, and it was a technological race as well. So the US was willing to go to lengths to stay ahead, even if it meant lying to their own people. They claimed the Nazis working for them weren't really Nazis, and that any talk of their past was just propaganda. So people who did terrible things in Germany got a free pass as long as they helped the US in another war as scientists. Number 7. Modified viruses. You have probably heard the theory that COVID-19 originated in bats and then jumped to humans, right? Well, that's just a theory. It's very possible this virus, which shut down the entire world, was the result of human actions. Scientists have been modifying viruses for some time now in order to give them new capabilities. They even managed to make the deadly bird flu virus airborne. Fortunately, it remained contained within the lab. So considering COVID started in Wuhan, where there's a lab doing gain-of-function research, it makes sense to think this virus might have been modified by humans and accidentally escaped. Some countries have banned this type of research, but labs still do it under strict regulations because it's supposed to help develop medicines and vaccines. They just don't want these modified viruses turning into new threats and getting out into the world. Number 8. Jose Delgado. A scientist at Yale University is regarded as a pioneer in neurophysiology, focusing on how the brain influences emotions and behavior. Then, he decided to take it a notch by experimenting with mind control. Delgado started with cats and monkeys and then showed off his theory's effectiveness by implanting an electrode in a bull's brain, stopping it from charging. This demonstrated how he could influence basic behaviors like aggression or calmness. He even invented a device called the stimoceiver, which could be implanted in the brain and controlled wirelessly. Implanting devices in the brain is a clear violation of free will, but Delgado didn't seem to care. He went ahead, aiming to treat patients with severe mental illnesses by reducing aggression or inducing pleasure. But his work raises serious concerns because you can probably guess how easily it could be misused. Number 9. Tuskegee Syphilis Study. Keeping people in the dark about experiments is unethical, but giving them false hope while letting deadly diseases rot their body is just pure evil. This is a dark chapter in American medical history. Hundreds of African American men with untreated syphilis were recruited under the guise of free health care and experimented on without ever being told they had syphilis. Penicillin became the standard treatment for syphilis while this research was ongoing, but the experimenters deliberately withheld it from participants until some even died. Their priority was to observe the full course of the untreated disease over the health of the men, specifically targeting poor African American men. Pretty racist, right? While we've made progress as a community, experiments like these are a grim reminder of past unethical practices and racial bias. Number 10. CIA's Athena. Is the government keeping tabs on us? One has to be very naive to deny that completely, especially after what WikiLeaks revealed in 2017. They got their hands on documents from the CIA's Vault 7, showing the CIA had developed malware targeting Microsoft Windows. This sneaky software let them upload, download, or delete files from the target computer. Most of the documents pointed to Microsoft systems, but a few also suggested they were targeting Android phones and even cars. They'd steal data and corrupt the whole system. So the next time your PC acts up and you lose all your data, it might not be a random virus. It could be the CIA messing with you. Number 11. Milgram experiment. Stanley Milgram, whose Jewish family was severely impacted by the crimes of the Nazis, was curious as to how individuals could carry out such heinous deeds. He designed an experiment where participants were told they were part of a learning study. The participant became the teacher and was instructed to shock the learner, who was actually an actor, for wrong answers. The shocks weren't real, but the participant didn't know that. With each wrong answer, the supposed shock's intensity increased. It turned out that over 65% of participants were willing to deliver near-fatal shocks, even though they were uncomfortable doing so. This experiment showed how people, under the pressure of authority, can do things they know are wrong. So conscience isn't really helpful when a higher authority is telling you to do something. Number 12. Oliver the Human Z. Being our closest relatives in the animal kingdom, it's no surprise that mad scientists have tried to create human-chimp hybrids, though none have succeeded. But there was one chimp who had the world convinced he was a human Z. Oliver was abandoned by his family and had a slightly different skull. If that wasn't enough, he preferred walking upright like humans, enjoyed human company, and was particularly fond of human females. This led many to speculate that he might be a human-chimp hybrid. Chromosome testing eventually disproved this theory, but Oliver's chromosomes were indeed a bit different from normal chimps. So we might never see an actual human Z. Oliver is the closest we got. Number 13. Elephant on trip. Remember MK Ultra? One doctor involved in that program didn't just administer LSD to humans. In 1962, he decided to inject it into an elephant, all in the name of science, of course. The idea was to see if it would make male elephants act aggressively like they do during mating season. Pretty unethical, right? But what's even more concerning is that they gave the elephant a dose 1,000 times greater than a typical human dose. Poor Tusko collapsed within minutes, shaking uncontrollably. They tried injecting antidotes to save him, but Tusko lost his life. Was it the LSD or the antidotes that caused his death? That's still unclear. But this disturbing experiment by Dr. Louis West definitely should have had some repercussions. Number 14. CRISPR. In the late 1980s, scientists discovered unusual repetitive DNA sequences in bacteria and named it CRISPR. By the 2000s, they figured out it was part of the bacteria's immune system, defending against viral attacks by serving as a memory bank for past infections. In 2012, scientists announced that they could program CRISPR to target and cut specific parts of DNA, marking a major leap in genetic engineering. While this technology could eliminate inherited diseases and more, it also raises concerns about the potential for creating designer babies. Yes, CRISPR gene editing can do that. Edit out the brown eye gene for a blue eye gene, for example. Most countries have banned using it on unborn babies, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. Who knows, some scientist in a lab might be working on creating the most attractive baby in the world right now. Number 15. Dirofilaria. Mosquitoes are super annoying, and I can say with confidence that nobody likes them. And if one is in an area known to have malaria, they gotta avoid them at all costs. But guess what? Mosquitoes have found another reason for us to hate them. This little white insect known as Dirofilaria can get into humans through mosquito bites. Scientists say it can't mature in the human body, but still, who wants that thing crawling under their skin, mature or not? Number 16. Microbes attack. There's no doubt that vaccines and antibiotics have saved millions of lives, but here's what scientists don't always tell you. The microorganisms behind deadly diseases are relentless. They evolve to resist all kinds of medicine, and viruses can mutate so fast that a few-year-old vaccine might be useless against a new version of the same virus. New viruses keep jumping from animals to humans, and even tuberculosis is making a comeback with multi-drug resistance. And if that's not enough, Viruses are practically immortal. They can switch between active and dormant states, so with new land being uncovered around the world, ancient viruses that caused huge epidemics in the past could wake up again. Let's just hope our immune systems can keep up with these pesky microorganisms. Number 17, Planet X. After some mathematical modeling in 2016, astronomers discovered a large number of icy bodies beyond Neptune, with highly elongated orbits and weird clustering. This could only happen if there is another planet orbiting our Sun in the outer solar system. Researchers say that this planet is 5 to 10 times bigger than Earth and about 20 times further from the Sun than Neptune, meaning 1 year on this planet could be 10,000 to 2,000 Earth years long. Number 18, Vacanti mouse. A hairless mouse can be creepy on its own, but a big human ear on its back? That's truly bizarre. Don't worry, it's not some kind of spy mouse with big ears to listen in on things. It's actually a technique used in tissue engineering to make ears for people born with ear deformities or who have lost an ear due to accidents or disease. What you are seeing on the mouse's back is basically an ear-shaped cartilage structure grown by seeding cow cartilage cells into a biodegradable ear-shaped mold. This mold was then placed under the skin of the mouse to grow. It took the shape of an ear because there was an ear-shaped splint fixed on top, which is very controversial. So imagine having an ear on your head that's part cow and part mouse. Number 19. Human chop shop. In 2019, the FBI raided a center that claimed to collect bodies for scientific research and organ donation. What they found was like something out of a Frankenstein movie. Buckets filled with human limbs, poor hygiene, and a cooler full of male genitalia. If that's not disturbing enough, they also found a man's body with a woman's head sewn onto it. This place, called the Biological Resource Center, was selling organs on the black market and doing some truly grotesque things. Fittingly, the owner's name was Stephen Gore. Number 20, Deadly Kiss. If you are a dog owner, I apologize in advance because this information might change the way you see your furry best friend. The dog's tongue is home to lots of bacteria which doesn't really harm them, but if they manage to get to humans, then things can be really scary. This bacteria can enter your body if a dog's saliva comes in contact with a wound or makes its way to your mouth. Take the man from Wisconsin who gave his dog a little kiss and nearly died from it. Doctors had to amputate his limbs to stop the fast-spreading infection. Or this woman who came home from vacation and her excited dog welcomed her with some licks, but she had a small uncovered wound on her hand, and a few days later, she woke up from a coma to find she had no arms and legs. Both owners still love their dogs, and it's not the dog's fault. Maybe we just need to be a bit more careful. Number 21, Solar Apocalypse. Solar flares are outbursts from our blazing hot star. Fortunately, the Earth's magnetic field shields us from solar radiation and turns it into stunning dancing auroras. However, a solar apocalypse that could cause major disruptions might come soon. Earth getting hit by a very severe solar burst happened back in 1859, known as Carrington Event. So don't worry, the planet won't blow up or get burnt. We all will survive it. The real concern is back in the day, we weren't as dependent on technology then as we are now. A massive solar burst can significantly disrupt communication and electrical systems, causing days-long blackouts and months-long internet outages. So if something like this happens, do you think you can survive with your daily dose of internet? Number 22, particle accelerator. To understand and study the fundamental nature of the universe, scientists and engineers designed a super complex machine called the Large Hadron Collider. This bad boy accelerates particles to nearly the speed of light and smashes them together, recreating conditions like the Big Bang or even more extreme environments. Scientists assure us there's nothing to worry about, but some folks are concerned because theoretically, the machine could create mini black holes that might swallow the Earth. It's safe to say that scientists have built and used these particle accelerators with safety in mind. I mean, they wouldn't want to be swallowed by black holes themselves, right? But then again, we humans do have a knack for self-destructive stuff. So do you trust the scientists on this one, that there's nothing to fear? Number 23. Plants scream. Do you follow a vegan diet because you don't want to cause pain to poor living things? Then this next discovery might make you rethink what else you need to avoid eating. It turns out that some plants, like tomatoes and tobacco, actually scream when they're stressed, like when they don't get enough water or get injured. We humans can't hear these sounds because they're over 20,000 hertz, but thanks to ultrasonic microphones, we now know plants do make noise. Scientists are trying to figure out why. Is it a distress signal to other organisms, a way to attract beneficial insects, or maybe a technique to scare off plant-eating animals? Some scientists think it's just air bubbles forming and collapsing inside the plants, but they still don't know why stressed plants make more noise than healthy ones. Imagine 50 years from now with farmers using microphones to listen to their plants' distress calls and rushing to help them. Number 24. Mad cow disease. In the 1980s, cows were fed the remains of their own kind and other animals, causing them to go mad. Before anyone realized what was happening, people were eating beef from these cows. The culprit? A protein called a prion. These misfolded proteins somehow managed to make other proteins go haywire too. Cows with this disease became aggressive and erratic, hence the name mad cow disease. The scary part is that people who ate beef from these infected cows might still be carrying prions. Symptoms might not show up for years, but when they do, they mess with the brain, causing memory loss, hallucinations, and a quick decline. That's why many UK citizens from that time still can't donate blood. And for humans, once prions start doing its thing, humans also lose memory, start hallucinating, and within months, they are done. Number 25. Memory erasure. Do you have an embarrassing moment that comes up every now and then to make you cringe? We all do, and wouldn't it be great if we could just erase that moment? Well, that's no longer science fiction, but is an ongoing research with promising results. And no, it's not like in Men in Black, where you flip a switch and boom, it's gone. Instead, it's about identifying the neural pathways where these memories are stored and then trying to inhibit their activity. This research is aimed more at serious issues like helping people deal with PTSD. So, while we might not be erasing embarrassing moments just yet, science is moving in that direction. Number 26. Cancer attacks. To all my Canadian viewers, did you know there's a 50% chance you will end up getting cancer? This study is pretty disturbing, but there's more to it than meets the eye. Countries with the lowest cancer rates often have younger populations. People with unhealthy habits tend to pass away from other complications before cancer can catch them. In Canada, people live longer, and cancer is basically some cells going haywire and consuming the body. So the older you get, the higher the chance your body might go down that path. But let's hope scientists soon find a way to take care of that instead of just telling us there's a 50% chance you will get cancer. And that's a wrap. Let me know in the comments which of these shocking revelations left you the most surprised. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you get notified each time we post a video just for you. Thank you for watching.